Hello, welcome to Miss Martin Muses. Welcome to Miss Martin Muses, where I muse upon what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. Well, what I am musing apart today is something that makes me happy and a little bit sad. We are talking about none other than Inspector Javert from Les Miserables. We are looking at it today from the perspective of the book. Maybe I'll do something different with the musical. Very different character, by the way. Here we go. Boom! Javert, pronounced Javert, is a fictional character and the main antagonist of Victor Hugo's 1862 novel Les Miserables. He was presumably born in 1780 and died on June 7th, 1832. First a prison guard and then a police inspector. His character is defined by his legalistic tendencies and lack of empathy for criminals of all forms. In Les Miserables, he becomes obsessed with the pursuit and punishment of the protagonist Jean Valjean after his violation of parole. I have something to say about that in just a minute. The character. And I apologize for my bad French accent. I will always say that because the Académie Française has an order that I may never, under any circumstances, be permitted into France ever again because of my violations against the French language. As Hugo depicts it, Hugo, the writer, Javert's misguided and self-destructive pursuit of justice is more tragic than villainous. He is a compound of respect for authority and hatred of rebellion, Hugo writes, but he made them almost bad by dint of his exaggeration of them. You see? Key word there, kids, exaggeration. Reflective thought is an uncommon thing for him and singularly painful because thought inevitably contains a certain amount of internal rebellion. This is why this book is awesome. Awesome. Continuing, he is without vices, but upon occasion will take a pinch of snuff. And he takes a pinch of snuff when he is particularly pleased with himself. His life is one of privations, isolation, self-denial, and chastity. Never any amusement. Gosh, he really is no fun. Javert has been described as a legalist. His moral foundation is built strictly on legalism. He is one of the tragic legalists in Western literature. Born in a prison. You see, this is the key with this man. This is the key with this man. Get into his brain here, kids. Born in a prison. His mother is a fortune teller, and his father serving in the prison galley. Serving, quote unquote. That is the key to Javert's psyche, in my humble opinion, and that he loathes himself, who his parents are, who he is, and his life continuing to find criminals and make sure they're punished and being very legalistic and no bending room. And even the way he puts it upon himself, as we see, a legalistic lifestyle of chastity. He wasn't under any vows. He didn't have to be doing any of that, but he was. It was like this punishment of himself. And it continues here. Javert sees himself as excluded from a society that irrevocably closes its doors on two classes of men, those who attack it and those who guard it. Mm-hmm. He becomes a law officer on the basis of an irrepressible hatred for that bohemian race to which he belongs. So you see, that's what I was saying. And a personal foundation of rectitude, order, and honesty. So devoted is he to this choice that, Hugo writes, he would have arrested his own father if he escaped from prison and turned in his own mother for breaking parole. And he would have done it with that sort of interior satisfaction that springs from virtue. So Jean Valjean becomes his obsession But that obsession was born far before him. One could argue maybe that he was obsessed with chasing down the demons of his parents, the demons within himself. Imagine if this dude had just maybe gone out drinking one night and had some fun, what things might have been different. But also, I think this self-loathing that we have from Javert stems from the way society kind of was also at that time. This very class system. The same thing that made Jean Valjean never able to return to normal society. Even throw out the whole parole breaking thing. Because even before he broke parole, he realized that he was never going to be able to be forgiven, to never be able to enter into society ever again. Continuing. Because of his mother's occupation and the book's statement that he belonged to a quote-unquote gypsy race or vagabond order, it has been hypothesized that he was intended to be ethnically Romani. Again, so some of this prejudice, not being pure, always feeling like he's on the outside. So when he's chasing down criminals, is he really chasing down himself? Following his encounters with Jean Valjean during the June Rebellion, in which he is first spared by Valjean and later, in turn, spares him arrest, Javert experiences a deep torment caused by the compromise of his previous worldview, where previously he has never in his life known anything but one straight line. Valjean's behavior compels him to see two, both equally straight and contradictory. The profound confusion caused by this, by the realization that the law is not infallible and that he himself is not irreproachable, and that there exists a superior force, identified by Hugo with God, to what he has known, plunges him into such despair that he commits suicide. His thoughts as he is about ready to commit suicide is also just very straightforward. He's sitting all these thoughts. It's confusing him. He's realizing that his whole life has been just maybe a little too intense and perhaps wasted. And then he just stops it all and says, this can't go on. Enough already. He takes off his hat and then just dives in. Sometimes dramatizations of it, including in the musical, don't show it that way. On the other hand, it makes sense because that would be kind of boring to sit and watch without being able to get inside his head. Continuing, the character Javert is loosely based on some guy's French name I'm not going to pronounce because I suck. A criminal and adventurer who becomes a police official, though this French dude wrote that he never arrested anyone who stole out of need. You see, and that was kind of the gray area. Hugo also drew on this vie d'un sans life for the character of Valjean. In the novel, Hugo describes Javert as a marble informer, Brutus in Vidocq. And I really, really hope I did not butcher that. My apologies, Académie Française. The reason why I wanted to perhaps contradict what this article says at the beginning is, it says here, he becomes obsessed with the pursuit and punishment of the protagonist Jean Valjean after his violation of parole. That is not the case. Javert really didn't care too much, if you will, about Valjean. I don't even know if Valjean was even much on his radar until Valjean was the mayor of Montreuil-sur-Mer, where Javert was the police inspector. He, of course, did not know that that was a crook. And two things happened. One, Javert was going to take the prostitute Fantine to prison for attacking a gentleman, quote unquote, a gentleman, because he really wasn't a gentleman. He was terrible. And Valjean's like, nope, not gonna do it. And Javert's like, yes, I am. And Valjean's like, well, then I'm going to pull rank on you. Humiliated him. And also, Javert felt like that was wrong. And that miffed him so much that he started maybe trying to get a little bit of revenge on Valjean for that, or the Monsieur le Maire, as he thought he was. And he accuses him of being Jean Valjean, a parole breaker. His superiors tell him, "You're nuts. Dude's been caught and he's about ready actually to go back to jail." And then Javert goes before Valjean and humiliates himself before him. And when I say humiliates, I mean that in like the positive way, meaning that he confesses to Valjean and then says, "I suck," essentially. "You must fire me," blah, 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 recognizing Valjean's authority. And of course, Valjean is like, "Hey, man, it's okay. Water under the bridge." And even then, Javert's like, "No, no, no, you really got to." And Valjean's like, "Well, I'm not going to." So when Javert finds out he was right, that's what really gets into his psyche. That's what really ticks him off. That's what really is the driving force of his obsession. That's what really kicks it off. Because that man humiliated him, showed him mercy even while he was the scum of the earth. He was a convict, an escaped convict. And from then on, that's where the obsession happens. Other events occur. Great book. If you like Les Miserables, if you are into any of this, I would highly recommend that you read the book and really, really get into the character of Inspector Javert. Because if there's one thing that Victor Hugo does, oh my gosh, that man will write and write and write and write and give you almost too much information, but it's so much fun. So that is Inspector Javert. That is Inspector Javert. Have a great day, everyone, and be certain, if you have a certain rigidity in life, make certain you're not so obsessed that you'll jump off a bridge if